So if you're into wine, you know, do sample the delights of Cappadocian wine. It is pretty good. So you know, as I said, we will, you know, go out and get some a little later. Beyond that, I mean, the hotel is what we call more a boutique hotel, and that's you know, Saba's nodding, so yeah, that's an appropriate term. I mean, it's nice, really nice. There is only one tiny problem with it. They do not have a elevator. No. The porters will take your case down, obvious, you know, and it will obviously arrive. But clearly, when 35 or 38 people turn up, it may take a little while. The problem is that it's built into a hill, so it's not going up; it's going down. So there are at least 2 floors below the you know, the ground floor. So you know that, but when we leave, quite clearly we'll be able to put them out of the rooms. But if you don't put them out of the rooms and you want to, you know, keep them until the last minute, it may mean you dragging them upstairs, unfortunately. Just telling you. So, but otherwise it is a very beautiful hotel. The food here is really, really nice. The buffet, they really go to town on that. And I mean, clearly it's a tourist place. There will be other people there from, you know, other countries, you know, probably from Europe, maybe from the east. So be aware of that. Look, if you look on the left now, not here, but as we're coming up in a moment, you'll see some examples of fairy chimneys becoming more and more predominant in the landscape. You can see them out here. This one here, this one's not typical necessarily, but the ones coming up shortly on the left and also on the right, I mean, you know, they look like some kind of weird lunar landscape, really. And various films have obviously been made here. I mean, one that you know, that I would seriously recommend, a very weird film but very good, is called Born of Fire, which is a very strange, mystical. This is Goromade the town. Yeah? So this is Goromade the town, and there's Burger King there if you really want one. Oh, sorry, we're not supposed to mention that. Right. Yeah. Yeah, Dora didn't say that. This is the hotel in Jeremy, in Cappadocia, right in the side of a hill. That's my room. So this is where famous place where they have these fairy chimneys, as they call them. Different kind of rock they have here, basalt and tuff. There's some softer rock and harder rock, and wind erosion over time produces these strange alien type dwelling shapes which have been used in countless films and videos, and not quite so much here, but you can see a bit of strange formations, but known for these fairy chimneys where these strange sort of sticking out towers, almost natural form towers, but as you can see, people for centuries have lived in them, and there's still places where you can stay which are actually in these chimneys, and hotels etc. used for storage as well. But they were believed to be, in legend, from the abode of the Peri, and these were angelic beings who, like the Watchers in the Book of Enoch, are supposed to have mated with humans, and their offspring had these bright blue eyes, and you were saying the origin of where you get these evil eye
symbols, ornaments that you see now all over, popular in Britain as well as here, because the offspring of these Peri angelic beings were supposed to be able to give the evil eye. As I understand it now, the ornaments, the evil eye, which I say they're bright blue because of these blue eyes of these angelic beautiful creatures, now they can ward off evil spirits. So this is Jeremy, and there you can see down there more of the fairy towers type. It's fabulous. Bit cold for swimming. Apparently got a small indoor pool. It's a lovely cute little hotel. So I'm on the bottom floor, which is basically, because it's on a hillside, you just have to go down. So this is my room. Basically out of the hillside, not quite in a cave. I think there might be some rooms that are in a cave in this hotel, but I'm very happy with my little man cave. Beautiful place, looking forward to seeing more tomorrow, and also the underground city of Derrinoku. So, hello from Cappadocia region of Turkey. Just arrived, well, arrived a few hours ago actually, but this is our base for the next 2 nights on the Megalithomania tour of Anatolia, in other words Turkey, and all the fantastic ancient sites that are throughout Turkey. I was saying to someone today, I, in my ignorance, I think probably like a lot of people, when I was growing up, I obviously heard a lot about Egypt, and saw amazing images from Egypt. And for me, South America drew me, the Incas and the Mayans in what is now Latin America. So I was drawn to go there travelling. And I'll just take down the pillow actually. I was going to prop myself up, but I should be a bit closer to the camera. This great room, which is just sort of in the side of the hill. So Cappadocia, the place where they have the so-called fairy chimneys. These amazing little, well, not always so little, but these towers, rock formations that stick up in the air like some sort of strange otherworldly place. And people for centuries have been carving into these and carving into the sides of the rock, the hillsides, and living in caves there. And there's also more in Christian times made into churches, which we're going to visit I think tomorrow. But just a beautiful, amazing landscape. We just sort of got a sample of it driving in. We're going to be seeing more tomorrow. Apparently, as I mentioned on another clip, they were given the name fairy chimneys because the locals believed in legend that they were the place where the Peri lived, and the Peri were like angelic beings, beautiful angelic beings, that also mated with humans, as Andrew Collins was saying, similar to the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. And their offspring were beautiful and had these beautiful blue eyes, and he said that's the origin of why the Turkish evil eye symbol that you see everywhere at home now as well, though the bright blue colour is goes back to that Legends of the Peri. Although now I believe it's to ward off evil spirits, but then it was said to be that the offspring of the Peri and humans had these blue eyes and they could give the evil eye. But anyway, today, another amazing day. I think it just keeps getting better, really. We visited the old Hittite capital of Hattusa. I think I wrongly mentioned the place we went yesterday, which was Elijah Hoyek. I mentioned, I think I might have said that in a video, was the capital. It wasn't. It was a much smaller site. This site is massive, up on the hillside. Dramatic views around of these rocky formations, craggy sort of rocks, and just a stunning sight. It mainly sort of ruins now, but still some really intricate walls. But these Sphinx gates, more of these Sphinx figures, a tunnel. Basically through this, as Hugh Newman described it, like an elongated pyramid. Like it hasn't got a pointy top to it, but sort of it's got like if you can imagine the base part of the pyramid. It's like that, and we went up on top of it as well. I was thinking it's sort of like a cross between maybe a pyramid and a long barrow, thinking of back home. And I say there's like a tunnel through it, and there's these hieroglyphics in there, which were only recently discovered. Apparently they discovered them on the Megalithomania trip, and it had never been mentioned before. But then after the trip finished, they found out in a news story it had been officially discovered about 2 weeks earlier. So someone just beat them to it. But yeah, lots of stunning things on the site. I mean, personal highlights in the what was supposed to be, I think, the Great Temple at the sort of lower part of this site, and they've got this amazing green stone. I think they were saying it's probably Nephite. We've actually got some geologists on the trip who were saying that's probably the case, although it is this incredible green colour. Really, really striking colour, and a really smooth stone. And again, Sabatine, our guide, was saying this was also in legend supposed to be a stone that's come from a meteor. So instantly that made me think of what I've been reading and talking about recent times, the alchemy book, Jay Widener and Vincent Bridges, Cross of Henday, and all the linking of these alchemical concepts over the centuries, and part of that, this idea of the sacred cube, and tying into ideas of the philosopher's stone, and into the cube of space, and then connecting with the tree of life and all these ancient esoteric ideas that have been passed on in different forms. And yeah, just another striking example, as it mentions in that book, Figia, which is some way north of here, but in this, again, what's now Turkey, but north of here, more closer to the region we were a day or so ago. But they worshipped a goddess, Sybil, but she was also represented by a sacred stone, which again was said to be a meteorite stone. And of course, also this links, you could say, to the sacred stone at Mecca, which again said to be from space. So all these connections of a stone falling from the sky, and I was thinking, because you've got the alchemical concepts and the idea and the Kabbalah tree of life, and one of the concepts of that that's come down through into Freemasonry and things like that, this idea of a lightning bolt, so like a sudden bolt going through from top to bottom of the tree of life, from the top, from the heavens down to the material world, our world, the earth, and this idea of like a quick dramatic transformation. And so I was just thinking, so if a stone did come down as a meteorite, well, that would embody that in more ways than one. You would have the sacred stone that ended up on the earth, and as it fell through the sky, you can imagine the dramatic light show and the I don't know if it quite flames, but yeah, as it came through the Earth atmosphere, it would maybe be this idea of like a lightning bolt from the heavens, and resulting in a cube. And these ideas translated as well into the idea of the sword in the stone, which came into Grail legends. So it was really amazing to see this other stone, and another stone. Not to say it's the same stone, of course it isn't. The Fiji one supposedly was, well, it was recorded as being taken by Rome to Rome. They decided they were losing to, I think maybe in the Punic Wars, to Carthage, Hannibal, and decided their gods weren't working for them, so they decided to just nick, I guess, this Sybil, this cube. So they got it transported from Fiji in what's now Turkey to ancient Rome, and housed it there. So I was talking to Andrew Collins about that while we were there on site, and yeah, I just find it all really fascinating. So the whole site was mind-blowing, but then, the other highlight was maybe as we went on to just outside this Hattusa, there's Yazilikeia, I believe, which is this open air rock temple. I read that there's no records found around Hattusa, although it was, I think, burned down at one point by this conquering enemy, but that no records, linking it to Yazilikeia. But it's got all these amazing carvings on the side of the rock of all these gods. One particularly famous one of these sort of 12 gods in a row, and that's a very notable one that's supposed to signify like the 12 months, the way the year is divided up into, the sky is divided up into 12, and this led on to the signs of the zodiac. But there's a huge number of all these gods, like a procession of gods, carved around the rock. And Andrew Collins, I think one of these in particular, he's going to feature very much in his new book on Krana Tepe, and talking about the importance of it. But what struck me, and well, I mentioned it to Hugh and Andrew Collins and others, and they hadn't heard, so I don't know if it's a completely new discovery or whatever. But just to the side of where the majority of these carvings were, there was like a little tiny, almost like a cave entrance, or just a fissure in the rock, and it looked like a vaginal shape. And I sort of turned round, and there's this really large rock, just looks like a natural outcrop of rock, but a huge one, just a little bit in the distance away from this temple, this rock temple, but it seemed to be on a line, and it seemed to me that it was like the male phallic symbol and the female vaginal symbol, and there was an alignment there of as seen in other sacred sites around the world. Of course, the combination of the male and female was sacred to so many societies, obviously symbolising fertility. And Hugh was checking the alignments. They got all these whizzy things on their gadgets on their phone. Andrew and I think Arnie and Jax as well. They were saying it probably slightly sort of southwest facing this this large rock. Jax described it as a hillstone, and he was saying that he thought that the sun would set over or down on this stone, as he described it, a hillstone. So there could be an alignment with the sunset, and also an alignment of the male and feminine, which would seem to me to go with such a sacred site. So I don't know if that was a new discovery or not, but it's something that struck me, and it was quite. It was a powerful place, and it was sort of an exciting moment, and yeah, just incredible carvings. And this just like a baby site compared to what we're going to see later on. This Hattusa was 2nd millennium BC, so just 4,000 plus years old. But yeah, Hittites were a powerful empire, or large civilization in that area for some time, and I think they clashed with the Egyptians and eventually had some truce with the Egyptians. But yeah, a really notable civilization in the period. So just been an incredible day, but I know there's more to come, as I say, looking at more of these beautiful cave dwellings, fairy chimneys around Cappadocia, and then in the afternoon the incredible underground city of Derinkoyu. So lots more to look forward to. So I shall show you more later. Night all. Utchasar Castle, a castle rock. See, they carved these rooms and chambers out of the rock itself. The soft volcanic rock. There's a view out over the valley. That pointy mountain out there. Maybe that's supposed to be in line with the castle.
Pretty wild. It does. Yeah, me too. I saw it on the way in.
Belchesar Castle. And the way it's been scratched out. Quite distinctive.
Read it another time. Oh, this is like used for the to make the quarries in Egypt. They use that to bash, you know. I think it's
Cross.
Oh, sorry about that. I like this.
I mean, to be honest, I don't. I use private medicine in Wales. They were very useful.
There's a surfer in there.
Nope. Making me hungry.
Oh, no, that's what I smell. You never do.
All the different places to stay. I wonder which one's the ultimate. The ultimate coolest. Maybe up here. Yeah.
Got one on my phone. I've never downloaded it.
We're suggesting that this is 32.
Straight east.
Straight east.
This one's the back. Red line there. No, okay. This east is there. There's a thing we can turn.
Top of Belchesar Castle.
Head is obviously facing. Well, I mean, you know, if you sat up, you'd be facing.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that. There's east over there. So north and east.
Yeah. Yeah, these are the graves, and they are facing sort of towards the northeast. And clearly the head would have been this side, so it rose up, looking towards that direction. That probably suggests that they are this probably.
trying to carry it as well.
Come on, you right?
I lose my balance here with the wind.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Where is the pointed?
So Andrew thinks they're most likely Christian. The
Here,
graves.
Christian.
The graves, because they were pointing east, which
Okay.
is
This is graves.
yeah.
Okay.
And there's some behind as well.
Let's see if they fit. Okay.
Jeanne, ça c'est des tombes.
No, I definitely.
Interesting flat top mountain out there. Could have significance, I suppose. Coming down from the top of Hattusa Castle with a cool prayer. So what the holes were for pigeons, she says. I big into pigeons around here. I like that spiral.
Yazar gülüm esmerim diye gözüm senden sarar güneşten gibi değil senden yarın olur benden nasıl olsun duyulmaz o izler özüm gibi gözleri bozar ezber kara özüm habbesi inansan bazen kesin istersen güzelsin Olursa ne olursa olsun söyleyeceklerimi duyma kulağını tıka diye Seda boşa şimdi bunu duruyoruz diye Doğular zaten asla gelip bizi denemez Sallıyoruz kafamızı bir şartla beraber Getirsin tamam tıkanın uyduma Bu ne demek olur kesin başıma bela Muhabbeti güzel ama varamıyor sana Sana yürüdüğüm yollar çiçek açar bana Ama var sözüm sana dokunamam Güzelliğin bir kenara yanında duramam O nasıl bir bakış gözümü ayıramam Gülüşüne müebbete böyle yaşayamam
Great panorama, Cappadocia.
Ya está.
No, Carmen, déjala, yo la borro. Ah, bueno.
Sí, hombre, pues si ves que estamos aquí. A ver, ahora una aquí, mira.
Okay, so there's probably about 15, 20 churches, and we'll probably go in maybe 10 of them, something like that. There's a certain route that you take, and we'll go with that. We'll follow Saba on that tour, and as I said, the one of particular interest for me is St Barbara Church. You'll see that. The imagery in that is very peculiar, and you know, you have to struggle to understand how they can call it Christian imagery. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, it's Christian crosses and stuff like that in there, but look up in the sea and wonder what the hell's going on in there, basically. Okay, look, I mean, look at the ones up here on the left and the right, yeah. I mean, you know, all of them have been burrowed into at some point or another. As I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we're talking about, you know, 10,000 years at least for some of these, possibly more. You know, there's no way that you know, humanity would not have burrowed into.
We almost touched that thing this morning.
Really?
Jeremy Open Air Museum.
He almost landed on it. Yeah. He came down in here.
Really?
Yeah, and our basket.
Yeah, he
went
almost touched.
exactly
We
in
almost get touched that. We're like maybe a couple feet away from that.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
guys, could you kindly come in the
The balloon, and he came very low and we were so from above. And then when he went over, so our basket was right in this section.
Okay, now we're in the part of the Megalithomania Museum. St. Barbara Church is here. Yeah. And you said yeah, this.
The very first place we went to was
Almost feels like an abandoned amusement park or something.
Yeah.
Like some old,
Yeah.
but not the, not the old ways.
Star Wars theme park.
Yeah. Dilapidated. Thought you said my name.
not if I take my glasses off like this, I don't like it.
Watch your step here.
I have them too. I have several kinds, yeah. But what happened to it? Remember when I did one day?
Plastic period.
Yeah, and I
It's outside the Barbara Church in Cappadocia. Interesting symbols in there, almost like sort of like telecommunications towers, electricity grids on these sort of pylons. That's, you know, one sort of thing they look like, but yeah, interesting designs on there, along with a sort of Coptic cross, which similar to the Templars sort of adopted or stole, I suppose you could call it. But yeah, Andrew Collins was talking, saying it was very interesting, the almost like more pagan amongst the Christian churches. Although St Barbara was a Christian saint, patron saint of children. So in the Open Air Museum in Jeremy in Cappadocia, just otherworldly, these rock formations, the region's volcanic rock from eruption millions of years ago, and tuff and basalt, soft rock that gets eroded by the wind over the centuries, creates these strange, crazy shapes, famous in many films, videos, posters, and people have been carving caves into them, living in them, and these, in this open air museum, many have been made into churches. You can see these crosses, sort of Coptic cross. All over, and different forms of it, different forms of imagery. Jeremy, Open Air Museum, Cappadocia. Just these amazing fairy chimneys that are carved naturally from this basalt and tuff, the volcanic soft stone by winds over millions of years. And people have been making caves, living there, and many of these around here are monasteries and churches with later Christian designs on them. Just a stunning, beautiful place, one that most of us will have seen on TV, films, images, but yeah, absolutely fascinating with some of the Christian iconography that's been drawn on in later years.
Some of the stuff that they're looking at in that Crucible Island,
Right.
that are supposed to represent
Yeah, 1 second later.
the lighting, right?
The lighting will try to be better after a few seconds.
Inside one of the churches with the Coptic cross, I think we'll call it, maybe. The kind of design that the Templars took. One of these great tables that maybe the priests or the monks or someone in a service would have had their food in. this is my wife. My wife said I have to film the food. Do the classic. Yeah. But there's harder stone and the softer stone, and when you get with the wind over centuries, it's created these strange shapes, famous Cappadocia called fairy chimneys, these strange shapes, the sort of towers, outcrops, otherworldly looking environments which have been used a lot in films and videos and that sort of thing. And within these, because it's soft rock, people have carved for centuries caves in them, and they've lived in them. And we went in the second part of the day, in the afternoon, to what's called the Jeremy Open Air Museum, I think they refer to it as, but these an area where there's a lot of these a lot of churches, what became churches obviously much later on, where this has been carved into the rock and been overlaid with different sort of frescoes and some more primitive designs. Lots of the sort of Templar crosses, although I think that's something that they stole, like amongst many other things. I think it was a early Christian Coptic cross, I think Andrew Collins might have said. But still, very interesting again, following what I've been talking about recently, studying the J. Widener, Vincent Bridges book, and talking about crosses and obviously the Knights Templar. But in general, all these ideas and how these have all fitted in. I don't know. I think part of my summation of the previous day might have been a bit lost when it was trying to transmit it over to Liz to edit. But I was mentioning yesterday we were in the site Hattusa, which was a Hittite civilization. It was their capital, and in the temple there's this great stone, a green stone, basically like a cube shape, incredibly sort of smooth. One of these amazing sort of sacred stones, again legendary that it's from a meteor, and same as Phrygia, they had a sacred stone which was worshipped with. It was connected to the goddess Sibyl, so it's all connected to the goddess worship. And as related in the Widener and Bridges book, when the Roman Empire was failing in its war to, I think, the Carthaginians, the Punic Wars, I think they were unhappy with their gods. They took this sacred stone from Phrygia all the way to Rome, to basically, I guess, sort of bring this other sacred, powerful stone that they thought would bring them good fortune in the war, and I think it did. I'm not very well up on my history, but yeah. So I was just speculating then. It was this idea, this alchemical idea of this, like the sword in the stone, the lightning bolt, the cube of life. And so if it was a meteor, that would come down with like sort of a fiery streak, like a lightning bolt, and the rock would hit the earth. So it would be, you could see how that would be symbolized by a sword in the stone, the sword striking the stone, or the sword being held within the stone. So anyway, that was a bit from yesterday, which I maybe didn't manage to get across. But again, this another thing is where people living underground and in caves, something which I guess has come from, you know, the earliest of times. We also went to a place called Uchisa Castle, which is like a great high rock. We'll climb up there, and again, it's been carved out. Lots of caves and little rooms off it. And up the top, actually, there's graves carved out, just sort of shallow body shapes where people would have been buried. But in the Utchisa Castle, these were right up the very top, you know, facing the sky. And we just had a talk with Andrew Collins talking about Göbekli Tepe, Karana Tepe, and this idea that at that time they their bodies used to be left for vultures, who were considered sacred as well, or, you know, sort of a guardian to the underworld maybe, and all this connections with the vulture representing the star system of Cygnus, which is very important, as Andrew Collins, you know, goes into with his books. But vultures would take away all the flesh from the body and strip it bare. So I wondered if, although these sites were Christian, well, possibly Christian or became Christian, the fact that these graves were at the top, although maybe I suppose there could have been an enclosure put above them, so they weren't completely open to the sky, but perhaps that was still, you know, lingering from this ancient practice. And again, you know, the Native American, I think there's a number of ancient cultures where you have this sort of sky burial. So yeah, it's just another amazing day, just seeing beautiful, incredible places. And yeah, then we had a very interesting talk delivered by Andrew Collins, just looking ahead to the Tepler sites as they're known, that we're going to be looking at later into next week, Göbekli Tepe, Karana Tepe, and other sites like that in the area. So lots more to come. I'm going to go and get some sleep, and then we move on from Cappadocia tomorrow morning to head off to our next destination. Just an addendum, I guess, to my summation there of just today's excitement in Cappadocia and the amazing things we've seen. Forgot to mention as well, talking about connections again with what I've been talking about and reading about recently, in the churches there in here in Cappadocia, in this open air museum, as they call it, there were a number of the churches that had representations of St. George on the wall, killing the dragon or mastering the dragon. And obviously I mentioned St. George in passing again, I think actually on the Stanton Drew, talking about Stanton Drew with you when I was talking about that on the live stream. Obviously there's all these ideas around the dragon and the serpent, which Andrew Collins has gone into in depth, talking about the Milky Way being like serpent or the dragon in ancient mythologies, and how Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe seem to be aligned towards the Milky Way, towards the centre of the Milky Way, and that aligns as well with what Jay Widener, Vincent Bridges talking about, and so yeah, these connections, symbolism of the dragon, and apparently St George, he was associated with this region in Cappadocia, so it was just another resonance that seems to be these sort of coincidences, if you like, that things that I've been talking about over recent weeks, and then I sort of pick up another book, not necessarily on the face of it connected, or I go to another place, or I hear about something else, and everything seems to be connected into one another. But so yeah, it's very strange, you know, as Andrew Collins says, that, you know, as a few people have remarked, you know, how St George ended up being the patron saint of England. So lots more to look into there. Obviously, it may be connected with the Crusades, which leads back to the Templars, and you've got this St George's cross that we give his name to this cross, which is not the X cross, if you like, not the diagonal cross, which is we call the St Andrew's cross, but I believe I read in the Widener Bridges Henday book that the Templar cross is sort of like the St George's and the St Andrew's cross on top of each other, but then the sort of lines filled in, so it makes like a seven, I think a seven spoked star, but then these lines are sort of filled in on the Templar cross. But yeah, just you know, and again, you know, talking about this region, and as I say, Andrew Collins talking about how the dragon or the serpent, the Milky Way, was of such deep importance to the ancient people of the region. You know, Widener and Bridges would, amongst others, have talked about that this centre of the galaxy, which Karahan Tepe is pointing towards, aligned towards, or it was at the time, and that was the source potentially for this great cataclysm that many believe occurred and potentially wiped out a greater civilization that was there before. But yeah, so the connection again with this region of what became St George and that mythology is something else which I think is interesting, and probably like to follow up and research more in good time.